Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am going to show you how to implement Firebase authentication in your Flutter application. So make sure to watch this video till the end to successful set up Firebase authentication in your Flutter application. So let's get started. I have already created a basic Flutter project, Firebase login, and it includes the complete user interface layout. That means the registration form and the login page are already set up, and this is ready to use. Now we only need to connect this application with Firebase and implement Firebase authentication. So let me run this project first so you can see how it works. It running on an Android emulator. So the first screen is the login page where user enters their email and password to log in your application. But before they can log in, they need to register an account. If user doesn't have an account, they can go to the registration page where they can enter their full name, email address and password. After clicking the register button, their details are saved into Firebase. Once registration is successful, the user can return to the login page and sign in using the same email and password on successful login. So they are redirecting to the main part of the app. This is a flow ensure only registered user can log in with all data securely stored in Firebase. So the full process of our Flutter login app works like this: register new user, authenticate the user with a Firebase, and after that allow this user to log in and move to the next screen. So this is a like workflow of our application. So since the user interface is already created, so we will now start with the setting up Firebase authentication. First open the command prompt. Now to connect your application to Firebase, we need to create a Firebase project first. So go ahead and open the Firebase console in your browser and create a new project. For this example, I am going to name the project Firebase Login. So if you are not sure how to create Firebase project, so I have already covered how to create Firebase project step by step in my Firebase playlist. So once your project is created, you will be redirecting to the Firebase dashboard. From here, we will connect it to our Flutter app. So choose Flutter as a platform, and you will see two CLI command here. So you need to run these commands. If you haven't set up Firebase CLI yet, so make sure to watch my previous video. It's highly recommended. So in this video, I will explain all how to install and configure it in a very simple way. So now copy the first command and paste it in your terminal and run. Now go ahead and copy the second one and run in the command prompt. So here I am selecting Android as a platform. So I did get an error at first. Okay, so just run command again. So after selecting Android again, you will see the registration process will starting. Once it is complete, Firebase will display your app IDs for Android, iOS, web, and other platforms. That confirms your application has been successfully connected to the Firebase. So all right. Now here is showing app IDs for Android, iOS, web, and Windows. That means our Flutter application is connected to the Firebase successfully. So the next step is to install the required dependencies for Firebase authentication. So for installing this dependency, I will open browser and go towards pub.dev official website. So this is the official package repository for the Flutter and Valve. So once you are there, so just click on the first link that appears. That will take you to main package listing page. So where you can find everything you need. So now for Firebase authentication, we need two main packages. The first one is the Firebase Auth. As the name suggests, it's handle everything related to the authentication, like signing user, signing them out, and managing their sessions and all. So go ahead and search for a Firebase Auth, and once you are on the package page, so you will see here the code snippet under installing. So just copy that dependency command to install this package. Now switch back to the Android Studio and paste it in and run this command to install the package. You will notice that Flutter start resolving the dependencies. That means everything is being set up in a background and the package is now being installed in your project. So once that's done, let's go back to the website and search for another important package, Firebase Core. This one is required for initializing Firebase itself. Basically, without this, none of the other Firebase package will work. So open the Firebase Core package page, copy the dependency, and just like before, paste it into command prompt and install. At this point, both Firebase Authentication and Firebase Core should be installed successfully. So you might have noticed earlier that the Firebase configuration file was showing in the red. So that usually means there is some kind of issue. In this case, it happened because the Firebase package had not been added yet. So, but now that we have included the correct packages, that red highlight should be gone. So also just quick reminder, Firebase configuration file like Google service.json for Android. So this is a generated while the connect your Android project to the Firebase. So please you don't need to open or change anything inside this file. So for that to do open your So here the auth app widget is a stateful widget which is a pass to run app, which is the entry point of our application, and from there it redirect to user to the login page in application. So let's begin by taking quick overview of the register page. As you can see here, we have a text field for the email and another for the password. So also there is a register button, and this button will handle on press events for the registration functionality. So now this button will trigger a method that will actually register the user with a Firebase. So moving forward, we need to create a method that performs the registration logic. So this is how we will connect our UI to the Firebase. Right, now let's us write the method that will handle user registration using Firebase authentication. So we are going to create a new method called register user. Since we will be dealing with the Firebase operations, which takes time and are asynchronously complete. So we will define this as an asynchronous method. So using the async keyword. So that means this method can run in the background without blocking the rest of the application. So this method will take a three parameters: the user emails, their passwords, and the build context. Because we will need to this context later to show message and navigate between screens. Now first we add the async keyword because we will use await inside the method when calling the Firebase. So then to handle any unexpected error in a clean way, we will use a try catch block. This makes sure that if anything goes wrong, like an invalid email, like weak password or network issue, so we can catch the error and show proper message instead of crashing the application. So inside the try block, we will call await Firebase Auth dot instance dot create user with email and password. So this method will take two parameters, email and password. So I will pass email and password. So this single line of code is responsible for actually creating new user inside a Firebase authentication. So using the email and password that the user entered. If the registration is successful, we want to give the user some kind of a feedback. So let's us show small success message using a snack bar. So we will write scaffold messenger dot of context dot show snack bar. So inside they take snack bar as a content, they give content as a text. So here I will write registration successful, so please log in. So this lines displays a green check message at the bottom of the screen when letting us the user knows that the registration was completely successful. Okay, so now once that is done, we want to move the user to the next page. Okay, so in this case we will successfully registration. After that we will redirect to the user in the login page. So but we do not want them to able to go back or registration screen by presenting the back button. Okay, so for that we will use navigator push replacement. Okay, so here I will type navigator dot push replacement. Here we will give context and material page route, and here navigate to the login page. So here what is the happening? We are using navigator dot push replacement instead of just keeping navigator push, because we want to replace the current registration screen with the login screen. So this means that when the user goes to the login page, they cannot go back to the registration screen just by pressing back button. Okay, so we are passing the context which is required to access navigation stacks. So then we use material page route to define the new screen transition. Let's us talk about what happens if the registration fails. So sometime the email might already be in use, or maybe the password is too weak. So there could also be network issue or typo in the email address. So these are all situations where Firebase will return error. So that is where our catch block becomes really helpful. So inside the catch block, we will catch Firebase auth exception. So this type of the exception allow us to get detailed error message directly from Firebase. So here the error message from the Firebase is stored inside the variable e. So using this e, we will show the error message using scaffold messenger. Okay, snack bar. So here I will be like add one snack bar, and here print the error message using e dot message. It gives a clear user friendly explanation, like email address is already in use, or like password is too weak, like that. So by showing that message using a snack bar, the user immediately knows what went wrong and it can fix. So this makes the experience smooth and easy. And that is how you can handle registration errors gracefully in your Flutter app. One is the try block and another is the catch block. Basically, if anything goes wrong while the code inside the try block is running, like let's say there is an issue during registration, so then catch block will automatically be triggered. It will help to catch that error and show exactly what went wrong. So the method we are using here is a custom, meaning this method handles the registration logic. Also, just to mention, we are imported two packages in this file. So one is a Firebase Auth, and which is a user for Firebase Authentication, and another is a Firebase login, which supports our login page. Okay, so now moving ahead, as you can see here, we are using an elevated button. That simply means when the user taps this button, a method will be called. So in our case, when the register button is clicked, it triggers the register user method. This method expects us to pass three things: the email, password, and context of the current widget. But before we will pass this value, we need to fetch them from the input fields. So from the email, we will create variable like final email controller dot text dot free. So this dot trim functions helps us to remove extra white spaces from the user might have entered by mistake. Similarly, we for the password. So we will use password controller dot text dot trim to be cleaner. So now that's we have both value ready, we can pass them into our register user method. So this is how we connect the input fields with our registration logic. The next step is to simple run this method and check whether everything is working as expected. Finally, once we are done that, so we will go ahead and run the full project on our emulator to test the registration flow in action. So now let's run the project, but before that there is a one important step. We need to make sure that Firebase authentication is enabled in your Firebase project. So let's head toward the Firebase console. As you can see here, there are a section called authentication. Once you are inside this section, we need to enable the sign in method we are using. In our case, we are going with email and password authentication. So we will just turn that on. So it is a simple toggle to enable. So now as you can see, currently there are no user registered in our Firebase authentication list. So which is expected since we haven't created any account it. But once we successfully run our project and perform the registration, so the new user will be appear here automatically. So after the registration is complete. So here we are getting an error that says something about the minimum NDK version. To fix that, I will go to the project folder structure, starting with the Android folder directory. Inside that, I will open the build.gradle file. Now this I will update the NDK version here. So but this time I will make sure it's written in string format as required. So once that's done, I will try running the project again. Now as you can see, our project is starting to run, but again another error here. So let's take quick look and see what it is. It's showing that we need minimum SDK version of at least 23. Alright, no problem. We will just update the minimum SDK version in our build.gradle file and change it to 23. After that, I will go ahead and rebuild the project. Now, when you do this kind of changes, especially updating the minimum SDK version for the first time, it might take little while for the project to build and run. So this is a totally normal because Android Studio needs to reconfigure and sync everything again. But after that initial setup, things should work more smoothly. And finally, as you can see here, our Android project is running successfully and currently being installed on the emulator. So now our application is set up and running. So first let's check whether the registration functionality is working as expected on the register page. The goal here is to see if the app is actually registering a new user into our system. So I will go ahead and open the register page, and here I will enter name, let's say Balaji, and then I will type email something like balaji@gmail.com. After that I will set a simple password for the testing. Now that's I will filled in the name, email and password fields. I will click on the register button to register the user. As you can see, the app is showing a message saying registration successful. So which means the registration was completed without any issue. So right after that, it's prompting us to login page, which confirms that the registration flow is now complete. To double check, we can also go back to the Firebase console under the authentication section and see whether this user has been added. So, and yes, as you can see here, so the user has been successfully registered and is now listed in your authentication panel, and that confirms everything is working perfectly with our registration process. Registration is done. We will move on to writing the method for a login functionality. So here our basic login code. This section will handle the user input, that's their email and password, and once those are entered, we will trigger the login logic using an button. So inside the this button, on press property of that button, so we will call a method. So let's say login user, so where we will handle the actual login process. This method will take in a three parameters: the email, the password and build context, which is necessary for things like navigation and showing snack bars. So now the login user method will be a sync function that returns future void inside this method. So we will use try block where we will attempt to sign in the user using Firebase authentication. The correct method here is Firebase Auth dot instance dot sign in with email and password. So here they will take email and password as an input. So make sure you can use sign in with email and password. So not a sign in with credentials. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, since the latter is typically used to third-party sign-in provider like Google or Facebook. So once the login is successful, we will show snack bar using scaffold messenger. So here we will show the snack bar like login successful, and after that we will redirect to the home page using navigator dot push replacement by passing material page route that points to our home page widget, which should already be created. Now, in case something goes wrong, for example, wrong credentials or network issue, the catch block will handle the error. So that store in a variable e and display failure message like login failed, message email not registered, like that. Okay, so overall the login flow works like this. So user enters the email and password, click on the login button. After that, the app try to authenticate using Firebase. Okay, so if the authentication is successful, that time shows the login successfully and navigating to the home page. If there is an error, so login failed via snack. So let's go ahead and run the app again just to check whether everything is working properly or not. Now we will wait a few moments while the application installs. Okay, as you can see, the app has been installed successfully. Now we are already have a registered user. So let's go ahead and log in with that account. I will enter registered email balaji@gmail.com, and I will type password, and now I will just hit the login button to start the login process. So I am going to hit the login button. Here not happening anything. Okay, sorry, just a second. We actually forget to call login method, so that's why nothing is happening here. So let me quickly fix that. So all right, now we are calling the login method and passing the email id and password and context in login user method. So we are fetching the email using email controller.text, and the same goes for the password. You can see here that both controllers are already defined in our code already. So one for email and another for password. Perfect. Everything is now updated. Let's restart the app once again and try to log in. So I will re-enter the email ID balaji@gmail.com, and again I will type password 12345678 9. So let's hit the login button again, and there are go. You can see the login is successful, and we are now being redirected to the home screen. So which means authentication is working perfectly. Now let's add a simple logout button inside the app bar. Okay, so for that we can open the home page, and then we will like create one app bar, and then in the actions we will add icon button with a logout icon. In this in the on press section we will call Firebase sign out method, like firebase.instance.signout. So this will log the user out to the app. Once the user is logged out, we will redirect them back to the login screen. So, and that's it. Our full login and logout workflow is working. So let's do quickly refresh and test it again. So we will log in using another email, like balaji808@gmail.com and password. So let's log in, and as you can see logout button appears in a home screen, which confirms everything is functioning properly. When we tap it, the user is logged out. So that's the complete flow of our application from login to logout using Firebase authentication in a Flutter. So I will also be providing the full code in the description box. So feel free to check it out and use it as for a reference. So let's test one more user now. This time we will use email alok@gmail.com and password 129. So, and yes, the user is now registered successfully in a Firebase. You can refresh and see the new user appears there. Let's log in again using this same email ID and same password, and boom, it's login successfully once again. So that's is pretty much how Firebase authentication works in a Flutter app, from registering login to logout. If you found this video helpful, you do like to see more tutorials like Google sign in, phone authentication or other Firebase features, so make sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel. I will be attaching the source code in the description box. So thank you so much for watching, and as always keep learning and keep coding. Thank you.